Hello everyone, I hope you're all well. Welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at yet another Vortex edition exclusive to the Character Options website. It is of course Ruby Sunday, as portrayed by Millie Gibson, as seen within A Church on Ruby Road and Space Babies. The Character Options have decided to do things a little bit differently this time round and release Ruby Sunday alongside the 15th Doctor in a 2-pack exclusive to the Character Options website for £39.99. Within this video, I'm going to be only taking a look at Ruby Sunday, and I'll be covering the 15th Doctor in a separate review. I think this also makes sense given that Character Options have also released at the same time the retail versions of the 15th Doctor and Ruby, so hopefully by doing separate reviews it's going to be easier to track some of the changes between the releases. As per, the figures do come packaged in a rather snug and sturdy shipment box. Currently the only way that you can purchase these versions of the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday are within a 2-pack exclusive to the Character Options website. They come in this rather bizarre but cool cardboard prison. It's rather new, it's simplistic but effective. The Doctor Who logo in its various formats are repeated throughout the case, on a rather modern looking white background. Giant BBC and Doctor Who logos on the front with a slight glossy finish. The back is just the same, just with the barcode hiding away at the bottom. To be honest, the figures are a rather snug fit into this sleeve. So the individual packaging for Ruby Sunday Vortex edition is also incredibly stylish. I love the contrast of colour. We also now know that this packaging differs quite significantly from the standard editions. Much like the B&M sets, we have a triangular corner with the Doctor Who logo present within. Now, the preview window gives a great look at the figure itself as well as her various accessories. The way the Vortex also continues behind the figure, it feels really consistent, really smart and thought out. At the side of the packaging it states that this is the Vortex edition collector figure, but do not fear, it still fits in with the 5.5/14cm scale collector series, which has been running since 2005, so that's good, isn't it? At the bottom it does say the 15th Doctor, which I think the wording on this is a bit unusual. I think attaching the word era to the end of that would make more sense. It works here, less so here. It looks a bit like an error. At the bottom, name of the character with Vortex edition just underneath. The way the TARDIS is in the corner and extends around to the side of the box, I think this is rather neat. The sides of the box continue the lovely design. Slightly different variation of Doctor Who logo is repeated throughout the sides, including at the top as well as at the side. The diamond logo is also repeated on the wonky corner, and the other wonky corner makes room for the barcode. Most of the company information is restricted to the lower half of the box. As for the back of the packaging, this is simple but effective. Just in case you forgot, it is indeed a Doctor Who product. I love the choice of a full outfit shot for Ruby, particularly with the background removed. Again, I think this looks really smart. Next to the picture there is also a small box out which details what on earth is a Vortex edition, which we'll be exploring that throughout this review, and is it worth your money? Mirroring the outfit, the character synopsis is very Church on Ruby Road themed, lots of company information at the bottom. I really do love that the Doctor Who seal of approval has returned. So we've cracked Ruby Sunday out of the box alongside her many bizarre accessories, and let's immediately delve right in there with the likeness to Millie. With the exception of your usual unintentional variations within paint application, both of the Ruby Sunday heads are exactly the same regardless of if you get the Vortex edition or the retail version, and you know what, this is a superb likeness to Millie Gibson. Character Options are using a tinted plastic, so the only paint application on the face is those smaller details like the eyes, eyebrows and lips. Results in, thankfully, a strong likeness not being lost with thick paint application. The lips a light peachy colour, the eyebrows a darker brown. They're not too overdone, not too caricature. Love that Character Options have included that eyebrow scar there on the left. The eyes too have been rather precisely painted. The eye whites stand out a lot, that light green iris in the centre, complete with the black and white dots, giving them a little bit of life. If I was going to critique anything, I would say that maybe a more prominent eyeshadow would have been nice, just to make the eyes stand out a bit more. As for the hair, this is also an excellent sculpt. We have lots of different strands curling around. It nicely sits on top of Millie's head. Particularly like how the strands coming down the side really frame her face. It's not just a block colour either, so that's really good. We have a series of lighter yellows, a little bit of orange in there as well. I think that this can be particularly seen towards the back. Not so much perhaps where you would most expect it, being the roots on top of her head. Sadly, I do think some of the hair washes are slightly lost on camera. It doesn't do it justice. It's not just a block colour, which is good, but maybe these washes could stand out a little bit more just to really sell the sculpt. But without a doubt, it is one of the strongest likenesses weaknesses that Character Options have ever pulled out the bag. It's a very strong start for the Vortex collection, and I love the new techniques that they are using. Much like the rest of the figure, we have new and improved articulation, so it means that the head can actually move up and down, nod from side to side, and everything else, which is great for posing. Join is very well hidden as well, so bonus points for that. So now for the outfit, it's a rather dark colour palette overall, very autumnal but lovely. I love how the outfit comes together and its various elements. There is so much detail throughout. So one of the really effective things about creating this figure the way that Character Options have is that each element of the outfit is a separate component of plastic, generating this idea of layers within the costume, and as a result each element has a lot of detail within it. So firstly, let's start off with Ruby's black leather jacket. This is a really lovely sculpt with lots of small details. The surface of the jacket has a relatively soft appearance with lots of delicate crease marks within it. There is also various panels within the jacket, such as this unusual curve coming around the centre. Down the side of the coat we have a very small bronze paint application to give the impression of the zip. If you look closely, this does in fact have a slightly serrated edge to give the impression of the zip teeth, which I think is just brilliant for the scale. The zipper paint taps repeat on the opposite side in between the fluff. The crease marks are exactly where you would expect them to be on a jacket naturally sitting on someone's body. Soft pleathery effect also continues around to the back. Lots of very realistic fabric stress marks. Back sections within the jacket are generally one block colour. Usually I would say it's nice to have a wash on top of this just to elevate the sculpt a bit, but in this case I think the block colour works. There is also a further bit of panelling towards the top of the shoulders. There is even a belt running around the lower back, complete with little hoops holding it in place. This leads to one of my favourite details across the whole figure, and it is that excess bit of the strap there dangling down beyond the coat. There's even some small silver studs sculpted into the belt. I really love this. It makes the figure feel less neat. There's a few imperfections, bits dangling here and there. I think this is something that Character Options have struggled with a bit in the past, because normally figures are just too neat, and as a result they look unrealistic. The dangly design also continues around to the opposite side of the jacket as well. This time the strap is capped off with a small silver buckle. The paint application on this is so precise, I'm really impressed. Both of the straps are made out of a relatively flexible plastic, so there's not really any fear of them snapping. Don't give them to a younger Doctor Who fan, they might chew them. Of course, Ruby's jacket isn't just leather, we have this lovely fluffy effect throughout. Present here down the side panel of the coat, wrapping around the entire circumference of the waist. On the cuffs of the jacket, finally on these two large collar panels there, wrapping around the shoulders. Of course, this also continues around to the back. All of these pieces have a really lovely texture, various curls and ripples within the wool. But not only that, this isn't a block colour, it's not just white. We do have white in there, but there is this lovely yellowy cream on top as well. This is another great example of Character Options taking a step forward paint application wise. They could have gone simple here, but they didn't. So moving on to Ruby's arms now. Obviously, it's a continuation of the jacket, so we still have that matte black finish. Again, it's a very realistic sculpt, so we have lots of ripples within the fabric. There is no wash or anything, but I think this is completely fine. Check the main jacket section, there are a number of stitching lines representing various panels within the coat. Semi-new articulation around the shoulders does allow Ruby to flex her arms out like she's doing an aeroplane impression, because these are ball joints. So not only is this better for posability, it also looks better. The shoulders are much more curved, more natural looking. Ruby's elbow joints also sport some new articulation. As per usual, it moves outwards at the elbow to your normal 90 degrees, but then we also have, wait for it, she can do that as well. This has been achieved by also making the elbow joint a ball joint, and it works well. Making the figure more posable through using ball joints, it's in fact reduced the articulation within the arms because the upper arm joint is rendered useless, so it's been removed. Cuffs of the jacket are another opportunity for Character Options to show off the precision in their new paint applications. The buckle and studs are picked out nicely, it really elevates the sculpt. So moving on to the hand sculpt now, you know what's coming. Everyone knows what's coming, and I don't know why they've done that, but they have. Don't get me wrong, I think the finger is somewhat in proportion, but because it's the 5.5 scale, it doesn't really work. Retract that point actually, from a side profile, it doesn't look in proportion whatsoever. She's got a giant finger. I know that a few customizers have glued the finger to the rest of the hand, which, to be honest, I would be tempted to do that, as it does look very unusual. Each of the fingers has a dot of black paint application to create the impression that Ruby is wearing nail polish. There's also the splash of silver in there as well on both of the hands to represent some silver ring jewellery. Perhaps it is in itself a compliment that my biggest critique for this action figure is the length of the finger. So you know, first time for everything. Slap bang in the middle of Ruby's outfit, we have this vibrant red jumper. The jacket is rather flexible, so we can move this back to take a closer look at the jumper underneath. Love this black sooty wash which has been applied really subtly, digging into the crevices, emphasising the texture. Throughout there is this rather unusual sort of piping pattern, a small woolen trim running around the bottom, as well as at the top. I do like the red jumper. It's vibrant. There's not much to look at, there's no pattern, but I think it complements the tartan skirt going on down below nicely. And once upon a time, this would have just been a block red. There would have been no wash whatsoever, so character options are certainly improving. Dangling down from Ruby's neck, we have a series of necklaces, all of which have been given a silver highlight. We have that pendant there in the centre. Because of the vibrant red that this dangles onto, any paint leak around this area does stand out a lot. My first version of the Vortex 2-pack, in fact, is a good example of this. Some clear paint leak there, silver dripping down onto the jumper. This one will be going straight back to character options. In between the jumper and the skirt, we do have this rather unusual matte black section, which due to the darker colour palette is rather easy to overlook. It's when you're closer or see it from a slightly different angle where you may think, wait, what is that? Is it an undershirt? Is it a thermal? Who knows? What it in fact really is a new point of articulation, allowing Ruby to rock from side to side, giving a rather unusual scarecrow dance. Now on the 15th Doctor, this joint is rather well hidden. I do like this feature, I think it works really well. I just hope that over time character options will be able to perhaps disguise it a bit better. So as we move further down the figure, we have Ruby's skirt. This is the most eye-catching element, I think, of the outfit, as we have this lovely tartan pattern. This has been excellently recreated within the 5.5 scale, a combination of burgundy red, a lighter grey. Looking more closely, the base appears to be a darker brown with a darker blue checkered pattern underneath. It's a really lovely design. I love the way it comes together. The skirt nicely wraps around. I love this diagonal panel there in the centre with the slice coming up the side. And the wrinkles and stress marks within the skirt really add to its appearance. As we know, the retail version is a number of shades of blue. It's nice, it's simplistic, although visually not as exciting. One of my other favourite details on the skirt is in fact slightly obscured by the jacket. It's this small silver buckle which is really precisely painted. I'm really impressed with this. Tartan continues around to the back. The printing of this is relatively sharp and light groove there in the middle, all adding to its appearance. The events of the episode were of course set within the wintry running up period to Christmas, so she is wearing tights. These are the same colour to the retail version of Ruby, being a grey with a slight light brown tint. These have a matte finish, so they do certainly look like tights. Unfortunately, mine do have a little bit of a glossy paint residue on them, which does stand out, but it can't really be helped, especially when this is delivered and it is an online exclusive. The continued improvements to the articulation extends down to the knees. The joint is generally better hidden this time. On first appearance, this is normal. It does the 90-degree bend there at the knee, but she also bends out to the side as well. This is of course an improvement. It's an action figure that can actually do a bit of action. Posing her in dynamic poses is much easier. It's great for photography, but with that comes a slight bit of instability as well. If anything, I found one of the biggest implications of doing the Gen 3 Vortex releases is exaggerating just how behind the times character options have been now for quite a number of years when it comes to other action figure lines. Especially when you consider that character options are rather regularly relying upon a sculpt archive, which was formed between the mid-2000s to the late 2000s. It's just so good to finally see character options move into a new and very exciting modern era. Completing the look, we have Ruby's rather large walking boots. These are for the most part in matte black with a slight sheen to them. They're fairly nicely detailed. Various ripples within the material giving this stressed realistic appearance. Many lace hoops run down the centre, although no paint on this to emphasise them. Brilliantly, there's also some silver highlights to represent some silver studs off to the side, and this is something that I particularly want to compliment. because this detail is absent from the retail version. Finishing off the boot, there is this lovely darker grey highlight running around the sole and the treads at the bottom, which do have a little bit of texturing on, so that's nice. Like the retail version of Ruby, the Vortex edition does come with some accessories. It's small smartphone complete with a red slipcase. It is a rather bizarre tiny accessory complete with a black screen. We have nothing going on there. We have the indication of 3 camera lenses at the back, so now she can TikTok to her heart's content. Or alternatively, take photos of rather creepy women who stalk her throughout the Welsh countryside. Given its prominence within 73 yards, I suppose it's nice it's included, although I will be keeping this one in a storage box so I don't lose it, as it is pretty small. Next up we have a lovely shoulder bag. Really nice inclusion actually, it adds something to the outfit. Sculpted in a red plastic, it's simple but effective, with a lid and a strap towards the front and a brown highlight representing various panels. Bronze highlight on the clasp is also a nice touch. The strap of the bag is also red, flexible plastic. It fits onto the figure quite snugly. I do like how both of the accessories add a little bit of life to this action figure. They are nice, but they're not absolutely essential. So there we go, that's Ruby Vortex edition. I absolutely love this action figure. From head to toe, there are so many small details which really show off how good this sculpt is. Likewise, the likeness to Millie Gibson is absolutely spot on, and all of this is supported by incredibly strong paint application, picking out those small details. My only criticism, I think, overall, is that whilst I do like the new articulation because it adds a whole new level to the posability, it's going to take a while to get used to it. I'm not completely confident that the articulation will support the action figure. It does seem a little bit unstable at times, and on some of the quality control on some of the Rubies that I've seen, it can be a bit hit and miss, so I hope yours is okay. But overall, it's a great addition to the shelf, and do of course stay tuned for my review of the retail version of Ruby, which I actually think is even better than this one, and also the 15th Doctor as well. So thanks for watching, have a nice day, I shall see you all next time.